And we're live. Hey, everybody, this is Ernie with the Trader of Futures. How you doing, friends? And today, there was an interesting development. Oh, boy. Hey, everybody, this is Ernie with the Trader of Futures. How you doing, friend? I thought I muted that. But it's muted now. How you doing, Bo? Yep, today is Friday, August 3rd. Man, I can't believe it's August 3rd already. This summer is just flying by. You know, as you get older, time just flies by faster and faster and faster. When you're younger, it seems like the summer will last forever. So, anyways, there was some interesting developments this morning in the cryptoverse. Early this morning, Bitcoin had taken another drop down, another step down to about 7,300 or so. And then there was an interesting bit of news that came out early in the morning that tended to pump it up a little bit. At first, the news was kind of centered around what appeared to be a Microsoft and Starbucks deal where they would offer a payment solution at Starbucks so you could buy coffee at Starbucks. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of interesting, but do I really want to use Bitcoin to buy my coffee when the transaction fees will probably cost more than the coffee? My understanding, though, is they're going to have some kind of secondary ledger that would be similar to the Lightning Network. If you don't understand what the Lightning Network, it is also kind of a secondary chain that sits on top of Bitcoin and purportedly will have very, very low transaction fees, very fast transactions, and then they get all accumulated into a blockchain off-chain. So apparently this is going to be a very similar type of thing where there will be fast transactions, I guess, low transaction fees, off-chain, and then go on-chain. That's my understanding. Now, I know nothing about this secondary ledger and what it will look like. I mean, Lightning is a pretty big project that has a lot of attention to it. It's been in kind of a test phase for, man, a couple of years now. So to think that someone is going to come up with an equivalent solution in such a short period of time. Now, I'm not saying that it can't happen, especially if you have the powerhouses of Microsoft and Starbucks behind them. They can put a lot of resources on that. Of course, that is kind of antithetical to the whole idea behind Bitcoin and Lightning and having open source and volunteer developers getting involved in this, removing any kind of possibility for centralization. But so, you know, there are a lot of questions. Now, the payment service isn't the big news, actually, although that is the optics. That's what everybody sees. They see the payment service. They see Microsoft. They see Starbucks saying, hey, we're going to accept Bitcoin. Big news. And from what I can tell, as soon as that news hit the wire, that's what kind of elevated Bitcoin price. The real big news is what's behind it, and that is the New York Stock Exchange, actually owned by ICE. ICE is a futures exchange and much more than that, but they actually own the New York Stock Exchange. They plan on introducing a futures product that is going to be settled in real Bitcoin. Now, that is definitely outside of what has happened so far. We have the CBOE and the Chicago Board of Exchange and the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, both have their own futures products that are cash settled. This will be Bitcoin settled. So that is a fundamental difference in the type of this. Now, this is just a proposal that they're hoping to get approved. So there is no definitive announcement whether or not it will get approved. And it just raises a whole bunch of other questions. You know, how are they going to actually deliver the Bitcoin? How do they guarantee delivery based on the contracts that people buy? Especially considering the incredible volatility of this product. How will they manage that Bitcoin? How will they keep a stable price? All of these are, you know, really interesting questions. How are they going to steward this? It could go on and on. How are they going to accumulate enough Bitcoin in order to make a market? That's another good question. None of these questions are answered through this. And however, that may be in the proposal. We'll have to take a look and see where that proposal lies. Someone sounding minutely less beer today. No, no, not at all. I'm just, I get excited when I hear certain types of technology and business news. It's interesting. It's worth looking into. The one thing that I can say about it in terms of Bitcoin is that it has a tendency to increase or maybe make a more robust ecosystem or infrastructure behind Bitcoin if it does actually come to fruition. All of those things are positive for the long term Bitcoin, but my fundamental look at Bitcoin in the short term is still the same. I think that it needs to come down hard so that we can wipe out the majority of these scam and fraudulent ICOs and other coins and other projects that are out there that simply are dragging the whole market down and more or less holding back innovation. Now, Hester Pierce, the SEC commissioner, in her dissent on the recent refusal to take the Winklevoss ETF and then approve that. She was the one dissenting opinion that did approve it. She even said herself that until institutions start getting involved in Bitcoin, there's little chance that the broader SEC commissioner base is going to approve a Bitcoin ETF. And so one of the things that is keeping them from approving it is all of this manipulation and these fraudulent companies and all the malfeasance that's happening underneath. So it's kind of a catch-22. As long as these guys are hanging around and providing a smear to this overall market, not really allowing further innovation in that regulatory compliance. That regulatory compliance is what is really needed by a lot of these institutions in order to get in there. They're not really willing to get in there unless they have that. And the regulators aren't willing to regulate it unless there is, less malfeasance. So there is a catch-22, chicken and the egg type of thing. Who knows when that is going to happen? Let's see. Make shorting Bitcoin hard. No, I think actually bringing in another futures product actually makes shorting Bitcoin a little bit easier. The futures products will be largely used to hedge large cash positions or people that are in the business of creating Bitcoin, namely miners. Very similar to how an agricultural or a farmer might buy corn futures because they produce corn. They'll sell corn futures against their production of corn that they plan on selling in a future marketplace. There are over 800 altcoins already considered dead. This is already happening. Yeah, but there are actually 2,000 or more altcoins. There are still many that are on the docket. There are at least 130, maybe 150 cases that the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is attending to right now, trying to deal with those and prosecute people. So it's still a big problem. And there are still new ICOs coming on board, although most of the new ones that, if they're going to have a chance at all, are now limiting their sales as accredited sales. And one of the most notable players in that market would be Hashgraph, Hedera Hashgraph. And they are currently in the final rounds of their funding or, looking for funding. And they're open to accredited investors. So you can actually obtain a position within Hedera Hashgraph right now by going to their website and, going through the KYC and proving that you are who you say you are, and then buy some Hashgraph right now. You can do that. Now, I think that Hedera Hashgraph is one of the few projects out there that I actually have faith in because I love their governance model. They're one of the few coins that out there, besides also having technical superiority in the way they actually operate and do a consensus algorithm. They also have a very sane plan, and they're implementing it at the right speed to create a distributed or decentralized governance council. What are the smart kids doing? Bitcoin or Silicon Valley? I don't know. Not exactly sure about how do we answer that question? There are a lot of smart people that are involved in the development process of Bitcoin. Ernie, have you read the Bitcoin Standard? What's your opinion? Do you believe Bitcoin will be the only cryptocurrency left standing? Well, did I read the white paper on Bitcoin? Yes. Have I looked at the code base? Yes. Do I understand what people are in there? Do I follow the development issues? Yeah, to some extent. I put all of that in my fundamental analysis of Bitcoin, and I'm basically doing my due diligence for my own hedge fund. All right, I have a crypto hedge fund that, at its center, uses Bitcoin futures. So I'm actually looking forward to these ICE futures, to have that kind of variety, have ICE, CBOE, and CME futures at my disposal. Makes a lot of sense, and that's great for me. The book, The Bitcoin Standard. No, I'm not familiar with the book, The Bitcoin Standard. HederaHashgraph.com, the right one. That may be it. Be careful, though. There is a recent video that they put out where they said, be careful because there are some copycats that are out there trying to take your money. So I know that if you go to hashgraph.com, you can definitely get to the proper place. All right, hashgraph.com. I don't know about HederaHashgraph.com. I'm not familiar with that. So I just don't know. I haven't been there myself, but someone says, yes, that is right. Do you realize that Hashgraph still relies on trust? It's not true decentralization. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Still relies on trust. And it's not true decentralization. There is no coin out there that is truly decentralized. In fact, but of the coins out there that have consensus algorithms that are decentralized, Hedera Hashgraph is, in my view, the most is a superior one. Now, what they don't have that is not necessarily true decentralization, and what some people think is that they have these. How do I want to put it? They have this consensus council or governance council, and they provide big picture decisions on the direction of Hashgraph. Now, there's 39 of these governing councils. They all are they come from a very wide range of enterprise class companies in a lot of different markets and different market caps. So from that point of view, we have a very wide dearth and decentralized view of the overall market. And the longest that any one of these council members can remain on the council is 2 consecutive years, and then they get recycled. So that, in my view, and then the actual consensus algorithm isn't run by them per se, although they do have that power as well through staking. Every single person that holds a wallet is also involved in the consensus algorithm. So it is actually a much broader consensus or decentralized consensus mechanism than even Bitcoin. So I don't agree with anybody that says that it is more decentralized. It assumes that 51% of nodes are trustworthy, which is a killer security flaw. They've already shown that they can survive anything under a 51% DOS attack. So it's not a security flaw. You have a misunderstanding of the technology. So I would advise you to go back and look at the white papers, look at the videos, and research what Lemon Baird has actually said. And I think that you'll find that that's simply wrong, or it's a trope that is misdirected. This market is primarily young men. This younger generation has access to more information than any before it. Do you think this could have material effect on how the bear ends? Capitulation moments. Yeah, I think it's a very small demographic. There is also a lot of very wealthy people that are involved in this. So I don't think that there's going to be an end. The market's not going to have an end. It's going to have a new beginning, I guess, or another chapter. Will kids go with centralized government crypt on their own, I don't know. I think that any kind of government-based crypto, though, people will be suspicious. Some ICOs are extending their timeline for their sales. What do you think? Well, that kind of goes in line with EOS. They basically did that so that they can accumulate as much cash as possible, and that's the strategy: accumulate as much cash before you're squashed. The person who ends up with the most cash wins. So let's see. Do kids play with virtual reality toys or organic capitalization via digital stocks? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Last decentralized money is gold, silver. Hey, instead of playing Monopoly board game, why not play digital wealth games? Okay. You said that they can survive under 51% attack. That is exactly my point. They can survive at 51% attack is the point. Kids' intellectual capital preserves itself through quasi-government crypt. If you understood the technology, Devil Touch, you would see that it is virtually impossible to create an attack that would compromise the network, particularly the way the governance model works. It won't be hard to DOS with this less research. No, I'm not going to bother arguing it anymore. You're simply wrong. All right? You're wrong. And it's not worth my arguing anymore. 87% of Bitcoin hash rate is controlled by 7 mining pools, most Chinese mining pools. Yeah, that's a problem. Ernie, why, let's see, do we have a bull run, then Wall Street big boys come back from vacation of September? I'm not so sure that we're going to see that kind of thing. I think it has nothing to do with Wall Street boys. If they think this is an opportunity today, in a week from now, 2 weeks from now, they're going to be all over it, regardless of whether or not they're at the Hamptons or not. Yeah, I read everything about Hashgraph security is paramount, and that's exactly my point. So did I, and you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what it's about. All I can say. Byzantine fault tolerance is what HG uses. Sound from a computer science standpoint. Yeah, you're simply wrong. I'm sorry. Coming from a guy who thinks we're at the beginning of the longest secular bull market in stocks. Yeah, I'm right about that too. Sorry to burst your bubble. All right, so let's move on. We're going to take a look at some things here. What's your thought on the impact of cash-settled Bitcoin futures versus asset-backed Bitcoin future, or the physically delivered? I don't think that there's going to be much difference in terms of its effect on the market. There is absolutely no proof that a physically delivered versus a cash-settled futures commodity or a futures product has any different effect. As a matter of fact, the cash-settled, on average, of all the different futures that are out there, tend to have a slightly greater effect than the physically delivered, where physically delivered might have some kind of effect, as usually on commodities that have some kind of life expectancy to them, things that can perish, things that are perishable, like like livestock or like agricultural products, that sort of thing. But we're not talking about that with Bitcoin. Most speculators probably won't take delivery of Bitcoin anyways, like in commodity futures markets. Yeah, and that's actually true. There's going to, in most commodity futures markets, there's only about maybe, it depends on the market, but anywhere from 1% to 15% actually take physical delivery. So to think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to take physical delivery of the Bitcoin while in that market is just wrong thinking. It probably is not going to happen. So I agree with you 100%, Alex. All right, Thomas. So why big boys and venture capital boys have created so many big strategic coins like Hydro Protocol? Because they all see this as a big money grab. you know, I mean, get in. It's a lot like the .com era, where you start up a project and people just throw money at you, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're going to walk away with a big chunk of money. I asked Ernie to look into Hydro Protocol a few days ago. Ernie, did you look at that? I did. I don't see anything about it that I should be getting excited about, but I will take another look. I'm sorry. All right, let's do a little sharing here. Bitcoin is currently down, as you can see. Last few hours, it has made a little bit of a reprisal back, trying to regain some of the loss that it made, but it's finding a little bit of problem there. I think it's going to continue to come down. If it gets below that 7,400 mark, it's on a slippery slope. It's going to move down much more sharply. So the current market cap is at 263 billion for the entire market cap, 127 billion for Bitcoin. Still don't understand why XRP is up here at all. Although 17 billion is a far cry from the 108 billion it had at its peak, even at 17 billion, it's grossly overvalued. Actually, all of these are grossly overvalued. And why? Well, Tether earlier, I guess, was above $1. Now it's below $1. It's kind of interesting. All right. I'm trying not to let any of these comments go by without referring to them, because I that's what I want these shows to be about: audience interaction. I would like it if you guys can do your best to share the show out. I'd like to get as many diverse opinions as possible. It's not great when we have a person or a couple of people that dominate the chat, although it's early on in the show's history. And right now we're getting, peak usage right now of about, 50 to 60 people. And I expect that to increase over time, and when we get 100 people, 200 people, and there are more people in, it will be a lot easier. I think we'll get a much more diverse segment and opinion. Is it possible to push the price down, Bitcoin down, with large future contracts? Yeah, I mean, the futures will trade in the same way that Bitcoin is traded, and it's kind of a competition between the cash traders and then the futures traders. They're trying, and because there are also arbitrage between them. So if futures prices go up, that puts pressure on cash prices to also go up, and then vice versa, up or down. Okay, again, look forward to your insight on Hydro Protocol. I'll check back in a few. Okay. TSLA hard bounce up. Wow, new way to build cars, and maybe someday the car will work better. So I don't know much about, I haven't seen the Tesla news. I don't know what's a new way to build cars. HOT, a very good team, very good. Okay. Can you call? No. All right. Okay. That was breaking news. Not for this news network. Exchanges will buy that token. Yeah, don't know much about it. I'm not really into any altcoin, quite frankly, right now. At the moment, I'd prefer to have this kind of washout to get rid of all the real cruff, the bad, the crust, the crappy stuff, and then there will be some clarity, I think, on the ones that rise to the top. Ernie, talk about Road to Ruta theory about silver to 100K per ounce. Have you read it? No. I mean, I think Road to Ruta, the guy, he's a smart guy, but I think that he's a little bit out there, quite frankly. Do you see Bitcoin going back by December to where it was in 2017? I don't know that it will go that low. Let's see, back by December to where it was. You mean the high or the low? The high in December of 2017, to 20,000. I think eventually it will get there, but that's way down the road. I think that for the next foreseeable future, and at least maybe the next year, maybe year and a half, we're going to be going sideways to down. And I've said all along that I think that range is going to be somewhere between roughly 4 to 9K. I know that's a big range, but that's pretty much how I see it. There's going to be surges, then pullbacks, surges, then pullbacks. Is a possibility it could go below 4K. I don't think that will be necessarily bad. I think if it gets well below that, say to 2 or 1K, that could cause some disruption. So we'll see. Don't know. Personally, I'm not too hopeful with Tesla. I don't know. I'm not really that interested in talking about Tesla right now, although there will be future shows where I will address traditional markets. But right now, this is the Bitcoin show, the Bitcoin live or let die, or live and let die show. So I appreciate bringing in other markets. I will address them in future shows. Well, silver price is manipulated the most. That is the reason for why we have more gold than silver. The reason why we have gold or silver pulled out of the ground is a function of market dynamics. Where the price is, I can see that a lot of that is suppressed by certain factions, certain banks, and others. But silver has a much larger, and again, we're getting off of crypto, but silver has a much larger industrial vector than gold. So, there is more demand for it to pull it out of the ground. Do I believe in passive income in crypto? No, I don't believe in any crypto right now. I don't believe in any of the altcoins. I think that there are probably a handful of good projects out there that do have some promise. I'm not specifically identifying them right now or saying that they will, be able to produce passive income or any other type of income. I'm taking a wait and see. All right. So here's the story. Buying your Starbucks fix with Bitcoin is now closer to reality. So the real news is further down here. Now, this is supposed to involve Starbucks and Microsoft. But ICE just created this venture called Backed. They're going to come up with some sort of payment solution for merchants, most notably for Starbucks. And I guess Microsoft is going to be involved in this. And then as part of that effort, ICE plans to introduce one-day futures contract in November. That's interesting. A one-day, I didn't catch that one. That is interesting. That differs from derivatives already offered by U.S. competitors, CME Group Inc. and CBO Global Markets Inc., because it's physically delivered, meaning the owners of the contract will get Bitcoin, not cash, upon expiration. So I guess that is how they are going to do that, by making it a one-day contract. So that means that they're going to have essentially a session. It may not be, in fact, a 24-hour session. Now, of course, this is just a proposal that is being introduced to the SEC, and it has to be in the CFTC, and it has to be approved. Physical delivery is important to some big players, in finance who do not trust the largely unregulated markets where Bitcoin currently trades. But they have the CME and the CBOE that is cash settled. So why don't they trust that? They're the most trustworthy exchanges in the world. Well, at least CME is. It's prudent for them as an exchange to list the new and up and coming thing. And knowing that this crypto thing is not going to go away, it makes sense for them to do it, says Maria Adamji, president of Megalodon Capital. Megalodon Capital, maybe that's how you pronounce it. But let's see, but is the market actually ready for this? We don't know. ICE said Starbucks and Microsoft were joining the effort to help consumers and institutions buy, sell, and store and spend digital assets. So that'll be cool if Starbucks and ICE can come up with some good interfaces, both on the merchant end and on the consumer end. That could make a big difference. All right, back to the comments. So if someone just got into crypto in Jan and their average cost on 5 Bitcoins was 6.5K, in this market and for the future sake and long-term potential, would you suggest to wait to accumulate more or still buy? Well, first of all, I am not in the business of providing advice on when you should buy or sell or anything like that. I can tell you that from the crypto fund that I'm managing, I am looking for pricing coming down lower so that I can start accumulating. I mean, 8K for me, all eyes on me, is a little bit high. It's a lot high. I'd rather see it get below 5K, quite frankly. So what will come, in your opinion, if we have hyperinflation? They just give us new dollars? I'm not sure that you mean hyperinflation in the regular markets? Do you actually believe that there's going to be hyperinflation in the regular markets? I mean, that is so far, that is so outside the realm of possibilities right now. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that is like, super out there. I use foreign cloud mining services to generate secure passive income. Okay, well, that's mining. If price goes down, a lot of these mining pools are going to get compromised. So that might be a disruption to that passive income. And also, I think that the overall efficacy of proof of work mining is also going to diminish over time. My opinion. What we really want to achieve by one-day asset-backed future contract. I don't understand enough about a one-day future contract. So I need to learn more about it. I'm just reporting the news. That's what I see today. Well, the ETF, etc., just make the cryptos less volatile, less opportunity. No, in order to be less volatile, you need bigger money, you need higher liquidity, you need bigger players to bring some discipline into this market. And it's one of the reasons why they are not actually getting involved right now, because it is just way, way, way too volatile for them and uncertain. I mean, for some, that's great, but for large institutional investors, that doesn't necessarily fit in with their risk profiles. How is buying coffee with BTC big news? Well, it's big news in that they're going to put that on top of a payment service or other infrastructure that's going to be built on top of this one-day futures contract. And so from that, you're going to get merchant services and client services. And if those interfaces are worthy, they could attract more people. That's what I see. All right, let's see if there are any other good stories here. Yeah, so this is basically the same story here. Bakkt will integrate with the ICU's future market and clearinghouse to list physically settled one-day Bitcoin futures product, complete with physical warehousing managed by in-house by ICE. Because ICE, one of the biggest names in finance, will serve as custodian for all the assets stored on the back platform, institutional investors such as pensions, endowments, and insurance companies may be less hesitant. Now that's taking a big leap there. I don't know about that yet. I don't understand why CME or CBOE don't give them that same level of comfort. But maybe it's the one-day futures contract. Again, it's something that I'm going to have to look into further. So this is the other interesting thing. Indeed, Sprecher and Loeffler lay out their ambitious plans for Bakkt in an interview with Fortune, revealing that the platform will feature its own omnibus ledger, which is supposed to be similar to the Lightning Network. So that is kind of, you got to wonder about that. What is that? Now, of course, we're talking about the usual suspects. Fortune's involved in this. Most of this news that I got was from Fortune, Bloomberg. Again, all the normal suspects. They seem to be shills for Bitcoin. Someone is in the pocket of somebody. These whales are heavily influencing these major mainstream news media outlets and pushing this idea. All right, let's go back. We're back. Goldman Sachs says BTC will have more price pain ahead and BTC won't come back from it. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But I think I'm in agreement that it will have more price pain. And maybe with the introduction of Hedera Hashgraph, it might find a way to, I don't know, develop some popularity and then grow, or something else might grow. Who knows? Right now, Bitcoin has the lead because it has the biggest network effect, period, by far. So it'd be very difficult to tip it. Ernie, Shortman from Discord here. So a fiat currency always varies 0.8222 to 0.85322. Okay, even when the whales drop billions. So services and goods in that cryptocurrency still stable. I'm not sure exactly what that means. The fiat currency varies. So what does that have to do with anything? There is really no correlation to fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies, nor is there any correlation to cryptos to any other market out there, period. There is as close to zero correlation as you can even think of. But a Coke that costs 1 Bitcoin in the shop, whales quickly add billion from 8,500 to 1,200 while you shopping, while the Coke then stay at 1 Bitcoin or drop quickly to 0.043. I think you're saying that the volatility is a problem. So if so, shop networks could be very quick in converting on the real time. Okay, so I understand that. I mean, that's exactly what I do when I take crypto as payment. I convert it immediately to fiat because it is far more stable. And also that fiat is in the same realm of all the other things that I need to pay for. My bills, electricity, mortgage, etc. Ernie, you always talk about how overvalued the market is, yet say big players won't enter until more liquidity has entered. Well, that's what I'm saying. And the reason, it's not that they won't enter because there's more liquidity. It's because they won't enter because there's too much risk and not enough regulatory compliance. It's a bit, like I said, it's a chicken and the egg thing. Something has to give or evolve together, but it's going to be slower, which is probably a good thing. Ernie, if prices go to 5K, Coinbase will not allow this to happen. They will not have discussion with institutional investors. They will not have a discussion with institutional investors why they lose 20% investment in Coinbase buying every month, every dip. I don't know that Coinbase has anything to say about it, quite frankly. I mean, they're a big concern. However, we have the SEC and the CFTC and others looking at these exchanges for any kind of manipulation, and that would surely be manipulation by them. So they are U.S. regulated, so it's going to be very difficult for them to do anything, quite frankly. All right. I think that we've covered this really well and said just about everything there is. I need to do some more research. If you have some research on these one-day futures contracts, I would love to see what you found out, how they work, what their implications are for a backing to a payment system and our merchant systems. That sounds exciting to me, actually. So, everybody, thank you very much for joining. We're 40 minutes into this program. I try to keep it, if I can, under an hour. 45 minutes seems to be, the target. We have covered a lot of ground here, gone through. I appreciate everybody's comments in here. Thank you very much, all of you. It's just been, really great, heady discussion. Um, I have my own opinion. I know that you have your opinion, although I get to voice my opinion because it's my show, and you can agree or disagree with it. That's the way it goes, and we'll work it out. And also make sure that you hit the like button, please, and share this video. Tell your friends about this show. Tell your friends about my channel. I'm trying to grow that. Also, if you're interested in my crypto fund, please contact me. And there are lots of ways to contact me. You can go to my Discord, or you can go to traderofutures.com and go to the About page where I have all my contact information. Uh, if you're interested also in coaching or mentoring, I love to hear about you and what your needs are. You can go to traderofutures.com and fill out a coaching application. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next time. I hope you all have a great weekend. Take care.